right, so now we're going to export or share our video. So there's different ways that you can do this, but generally these days most videos you're going to be exporting, I assume, are going to be for internet usage. Now, of course, there is still DVD, and there is still the possibility of playing your movie in a theater, but 90% of the times, at least, it's going to be for internet. So if we go up over here to this little share icon over there, click on it, you'll see you have all your different options for your sharing. Master file would be creating just a actual video file on your computer, a .mov, an H.264 ProRes. DVD would be for if you wanted to create on the DVD. This will give you specific settings to get your movie to fit on something that is either about 4.7 gigabytes or about double that for dual layer DVDs. You also have options to export image sequences and just actual still frames. You can export directly to YouTube by connecting your YouTube account into Final Cut Pro. Same thing with Facebook, different Apple devices, Vimeo, and if you have been utilizing Frame.io, which I highly recommend, you can do that as well. I'll have another video going through the Frame.io workflow for Final Cut Pro, which is really, really cool. Also, you can add a destination of your own. If you click on that right over there, it'll bring up the destinations in your preferences. This is the same thing that you go to but over here, preferences. And this is where you can add additional locations and ways to share your media. So over here to the right are different other options that you could drag and drop inside over here. Let's say you wanted to share something to a Blu-ray. Go ahead and drag that guy over there and boom, you have your different options over here that you can set. I don't have my Blu-ray player plugged in right now, but as you can see here, single layer for the 4.7, double layer for double than that, and you have other options as well. Now if we click back out of here, and as you'll see here on the timeline, nothing is selected, okay? If you hit R for your range, you can then select a range. With that range selected, when you go up to File and Master File Share, you'll see that it's only exporting that section of the project that is covered by the range. We don't want that, we want the whole thing, so go ahead and click out of that and go back up to your master file share, and you'll see now we have the entire project, not just what was encapsulated by the range tool. Now if we go over to the right over here, you'll see a little description. You could change this if you wanted to. You could change your name. You could add different tags and delete them if you'd like as well. These will be transferred onto the video as metadata. Settings over here to the right, this is where you would set everything. If you want both video and audio, if you only want video, only want audio, I usually leave these things at their default. But let's say you wanted to do an MXF. MXF files are containers. Apple ProRes is the codec that is contained within the container. I'm going to go up over here to video and audio only though, and keep it on the Apple ProRes. This would be for if you wanted high resolution exports. The 422s, LT, then proxies are the lower resolution exports for editing proxies. H.264 is generally what you're going to use all the time for exporting for internet. Color space, we'll leave this stuff the same. And with the open with default, that's fine the way it is as well. And it'll give you a little estimate of how big the file is going to be. Click over to the right over here. This is where all our roles are, okay? Now, generally, QuickTime Movie is what you want to have selected. Everything's going to be wrapped together up in one big container. And you can see over here we have the option for the captions. We can include all the videos. We can include all the dialogue. And we have the different captions over here that we can either include or disinclude. Now, if we were to come up over here and select multi-track QuickTime Movie, this would create different tracks within your .mov file, okay? This is just a little more complicated. Let's say you had multiple audio tracks and you had a stereo 5.1 mix. That would be 6 different tracks of audio. And when you open that up in places like QuickTime Player, sometimes it's only playing the top 2 tracks. So you could get fooled and tricked into thinking that you're actually missing audio that is there, it's just not playing through QuickTime. If we go over to separate files over here, This would be useful if you wanted to basically export your audio only, let's say, as different audio stems. So you can go mono over there. You could add different roles to it at this level as well. But when you exported it, again, rather than it being all in one single container, it would be separate audio files. This is a way in which to send your separate audio tracks to audio for sound editing. You don't want to send them a mix of all the tracks together. You want to send them separate files. But if we go back over here to the QuickTime Movie on the top, go back to info, this is what we want. The whole movie, audio and video, all wrapped up in one file. We want it to be H.264 because it's for the internet, and then you hit next. This is where you tell it where you want it to save. We're just going to save it onto the desktop over there. Hit save, and if you click on this little icon up over here, the background tasks, you can see the sharing is happening. Final Cut Pro X shares, exports, renders, whatever you want to call those things, faster than pretty much every other program out there. The reason being, a lot of people are using ProRes still as a master format for editing, for exporting, and when you're dealing with an Apple codec on an Apple computer like a Mac with an Apple program like Final Cut Pro, the integration is just much more powerful than anything else, so the speed is much faster than anywhere else. Now, like I said before, you could also come up over here, and if you wanted to do a DVD, you could click on that, go over to the settings, and the settings will change appropriately to what you're going to be exporting. Now, if we come back over here, let me go to Blu-ray, you'll see the same settings from before on our preferences setting panel. And let's just show you one more one over here. If I were to go to the YouTube, we go over to settings. There are two warnings here. Let's see what they are for. I imagine it's for because I'm not signed in. So you would go to sign in over here. That would bring up your internet, and then you would sign into your YouTube via that. And then when you return back over here, it would have your account information, so you could upload directly to your YouTube page instead of having to export onto your computer and then upload that again. Now, the last thing I'll show you is come up over here, go to Add to Destination, and we're going to go and drag the compressor settings over to the left panel over here. And you'll see that it pops up this little option menu. You can drop down this guy over here, and within compressor, you have various different export settings. So let's say you wanted to create a DVD. These two settings would be the ones you want to use, basically. So click OK, and then as you come back out over here into your share, you see that you have compressor bundle as a setting. Click on that over there, and this will be the Dolby Digital for DVD settings that you had. You can click on change over here to set, let's say, another one. Let's say we're like, oh no, I wanted that to be the Blu-ray settings that were native in compressor. You can click OK, that changes that over there. Now you can also come down over here, and what I would do is rather than having it named compressor bundle, I would double click it on over there, and I would name it DVD Blu-ray authoring, or whatever it was. And within compressor, which is for a different tutorial, you can create various share presets, import them into Final Cut Pro, add them to the destinations panel over here on the left, so that when you come up over here, you will have it as a default template export setting. So let's say you're constantly using the same export settings for YouTube and you've created them in compressor, you can import that into over here, label it as custom YouTube export, and just click on that every time you want to share a file with those settings.